the 1%, and thank you so much for watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Today we've got a really cool episode where we're going to go a little bit more into depth when it comes to social media marketing, branding, as well as entrepreneurship. So today Rory and I are joined by Prom and Tasmiyah. These are two young entrepreneurs and branding specialists and influencers and people who are doing really exciting things in the business world down in Durbs. So I guess the first question is I want to ask sort of Tasmiyah, like maybe, you've built up quite an awesome following. I've seen your Instagram, you've got a lot of videos and posts about sort of makeup. And I want to start off just by asking you, like, how did you get into this? And, what's your background with makeup and building a following on Instagram? And then after that, maybe you can tell us like how you linked up with Prom and how the two of you got together and started chatting about Boxful.
Sure. So I think pretty much my makeup journey all kind of started when I was somewhere around 13 or 14. I know my cousin was the one that kind of got me into makeup, and she had just done mine for the first time. And I remember falling in love with the process and just loving how everything came together for, this beautiful artwork that was the finished product that was my face. And so I remember that was kind of like the beginning of everything for me. And I started to experiment a bit more. I started watching a lot of YouTube tutorials, and that's where I did the bulk of my learning. And then over time, like I just started sharing some of the stuff that I created on Instagram. And I think people really seem to enjoy that. They seem to enjoy the little journey that I went on from way back then until now. Yeah, and I think I started to dabble a little bit more into creative makeup as well, where I would do a little bit more of like drawings or editorial looks on my face. And I think that's kind of what got the ball rolling with people. It seemed to really grab their attention. Yeah, I think that was pretty much how it all began. And as for meeting Prom, Prom and I were actually neighbors. So that's how we know each other. And earlier this year, last year, the idea for Boxful kind of came to me. And I remember feeling super lost at the beginning of this year when I was trying to piece it all together. And I reached out to Prom and I was like, okay, girl, please, can you just give me some direction here? And it's so ironic, and I tell her this all the time, that her agency is called Lost and Found, because that's literally how I felt when she kind of came into the picture and gave me so much of direction. And yeah, so that is pretty much how we're here today.
No, that's amazing. And I guess just on your side, Prom, like I've known you since, 2016 university days at Vega and Durbs. And you've also been like, even though you're going full time into the branding and marketing side, you've also always done makeup, I guess, like on the side or as a hobby or just an interest of yours. And I remember you like posting videos and photos and people coming to you for advice and just saying like, God, you know so much about this. So what was your introduction into this sort of industry? And maybe from there, we'll chat about a bit more about the actual business itself.
Yeah, so when it comes to makeup, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it was my mom who kind of introduced it to me. Always like harping on about taking care of your skin since I was like 5. And like just watching her get ready and go out and put foundation on. And yeah, just experimenting like all the time. And then, yeah, kind of when I was like in college, when, out of high school, you can basically wear makeup every day of your life and just kind of experimenting and playing around with that. So I always found a love for it. I found like, I liked creating things and I liked to kind of experiment and then change, like, because makeup literally can change your face. And I liked kind of being a shapeshifter, I guess, to kind of be like, what kind of mood I'm in. And it was also a way of expression because, it was a way of expressing myself. And then, and then that's pretty much how I got into makeup.
So I guess I'll go back to Tasmiyah for this one. So Rory is also an entrepreneur. He's also working out of Durbs, but he's in a completely different space. He like coaches and trains entrepreneurs. He came from like a personal training background. He's got a law degree as well. But my guess is that he doesn't know too much about makeup other than what his girlfriend has told him here and there. So if you were to sort of give Rory like an elevator pitch on what Boxful is, like a very short sort of summary of what not what it is, what it's going to be, because it's launching soon. We'll talk about that. But how would you explain the company to Rory, someone who doesn't know too much about this?
So I think the way that I would explain this is what Boxful is we are a monthly beauty subscription box, a luxury subscription box at that. And we are the first luxury beauty subscription to hit South Africa. So every month our subscribers will receive 4 to 5 full-sized beauty products that will range from makeup, skincare, hair care, and quite a wide variety of other products as well, all to do with the beauty industry. And so what it really is it's a way for consumers to test and try out a product before actually committing to it. And I think that that's something that's been missing from the South African space for quite some time now. And I think specifically with COVID and how that has kind of affected, the way you can't walk into a store and test out a product the way that you used to. So I think we're kind of jumping in at the right time. And I think from a brand perspective as well, it's crucial for them because they're getting access to a very targeted audience, a very highly niched audience of people that are so passionate about makeup. The people that they might otherwise not have access to, people that they might not reach, people that may never try their product because they're just so traditional in buying the same products over and over again. So we're really trying to make the discovery process as joyful as possible. And I think, that is pretty much what we're focusing on.
That's incredible. Wow. I think your idea of putting it together in that way and introducing it into the market in South Africa is something we need. Like you said, being able to test out those products before you get it is incredible. But what I'm interested in is what is your core message behind that, right? So obviously you're passionate about this space, you're passionate about makeup. What is it that you really want to inspire people? What is it that you want to make them feel or believe about themselves? What is the real core message that you want to get across within this business, if that makes sense?
Okay, so I think when we speak about our target market, there's kind of like different people that we are trying to appeal to, and I'm going to be specific to just one group, and that would be kind of the people that don't know so much about makeup as well. So perhaps yourself, Rory. So the person like you who is not so comfortable with makeup, you don't know too much about it, but you're kind of interested, you want to learn a little bit more, but also you're afraid of going and committing to buying these really expensive products or just products in general that you might not be too happy with once you get it. And I think you would be the type of person that would feel very prone to feeling that sort of buyer's remorse, especially when you're choosing amongst a plethora of options. So I think that's kind of where we step in and we're like, okay, here, let's simplify this process for you. You don't need to make that difficult decision. We're going to give you a whole bunch of products to test out and try out. And if you fall in love with them, then hey, you can always go back and purchase them at, these other retailers that we are promoting as well. But I think going beyond that too, we're serving as a platform and a community where we want to educate our subscribers and people that we're going to be engaging with. So on all of our personal socials, we're going to be breaking down ingredients and explaining, what is actually in this product that you're going to be using on your face. What does it do for you? What are the benefits? And then we're going to be showcasing tutorials. Well, this is how you use it. So it's just going to be a great space for people to come together to learn more and to try out a whole bunch of products that they otherwise may not have been very brave in doing so.
I think also, just to interject there, we also want to give South African beauty brands the chance to shine, because usually, now, most of the brands that we use are all international. We're way too scared. Well, people are way too scared to kind of tap into the South African market and aren't that trusting. So we want to there's so many small indie brands that, deserve the time to shine and literally can hold their weight. you know, like the other big brands can. So we want to kind of level out the playing field and just, yeah, give them a chance to shine and be like, listen, we have, like, South Africa has some sick product that people haven't heard of, too scared to try. So that's what we also want to do, is also uplift the South African beauty industry.
Yes,
Wow.
that's something that's really important to us. And I think there definitely exists this sort of level of skepticism amongst the South African consumer, where they are kind of scared, like Promise was saying, you know, to invest into these small brands that they may not be comfortable in purchasing because they haven't heard so much about yet, you know. They'd be more comfortable walking into Red Square or Foschini and buying an established brand like Estee Lauder. And so, like Promise was saying, you know, there are products that have been created by our local entrepreneurs that are absolutely crushing the space right now, you know. And like she was saying, they deserve just as much recognition. And so we definitely do want to uplift them and put them on the same playing field and say, here you go. Here's some of the local brands. You're also getting a mixture of international brands as well. And yeah, you make the choice.
That's amazing. And I think the way you together is beautiful. You know, you're serving not only the consumer and educating them, but you're also helping. And I think your model is also fantastic. What do you think about that, Gid?
Yeah, sorry, I don't know. Your Wi-Fi was dropping just a tiny bit there. You were just talking about the model. I just want to pick up that question.
Yeah, so I think, you know, that model, being able to give the consumer that space to actually, you know, test things, and, you know, you're taking away a lot of that uncertainty of, you know, things that they're used to. Plus, being very involved in the health space myself, I know how much we absorb through our skin, you know, just in terms of toxicity, in terms of all these things. So I think it's awesome that you guys are tied in both aspects, and you're not only serving the consumers here, you're also serving the local businesses and helping to grow the economy as a whole. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an awesome business model. I mean, what do you think about that, Gid?
Yeah, I think it's cool. So I want to chat more about the actual business model, like choosing a subscription model versus like actually selling products and stuff. But I think before we get into that, I want to just mention like influencers. So Tasmiyah, like you've obviously built up your own following. You are a makeup influencer yourself. Prom, you are as well in your own space. Like how important is it going to be to work with other influencers who are, I guess, like, I don't know, I guess it's like a new thing, like influencer marketing. It wasn't something that people spoke about years ago, and now it's become like the norm. Like every brand knows that they have to be doing influencer marketing. So I want to know, like, what you guys, you know, how are you going to use influencer marketing? Who are the people you're going to work with? And then just above and beyond that, like, what are kind of like the do's and don'ts of influencer marketing? Because, you know, it's not the same if somebody just sort of reposts your post and there's no like connection between the influencer and the product. So there needs to be like some sort of organic overlap between who's promoting your products and what your product is. So first question is, how are you guys going to use influencer marketing? And second off, like, what are the do's and don'ts for influencers?
So we first started off with, which I think is crucial, is to kind of establish who your audience is. So you know exactly who they are, where they spend their time, like which social media platforms. Are they on Twitter? Are they on Instagram, LinkedIn? Establish that. Like that is always a great starting point. Then try and find that. Then what we did was we try and found influencers that kind of mirrored our target audience. So you get like these big influencers such as Mishlali, who's like super big, over 1 million followers. She's like super big and strong in like the Black beauty community, working with some big, huge brands. And then you get other influencers. So yeah, so it's just about trying to establish your target audience. I think influencer marketing is super crucial because especially now, we value human-to-human contact, even if it's on social media, and we value the opinions of humans more than we value the opinions of brands. If you think about it, a brand will always tell you their product is good. Whether their product is like a trash bag, they will literally tell you it is the best product on the market. But hearing it from someone who's experienced the brand, used the brand, you know, has like a one-on-one connection with the brand, it changes the mindset. You're more likely to trust the person and thus trust the brand. So we believe that influencer marketing, especially for our business, you know, the beauty space is growing tremendously, and there are some big players within the beauty space and in the beauty community that we hopefully want to connect with in the future. So yeah, no, we definitely are going to be using influencer marketing. I think, you know, I think every business needs to kind of tap into influencer marketing. It's the best way to get organic connections with your audience. Yeah.
Just to add to that as well, I think a big part of, well, the way that we kind of strategically chose our influencers as well is we wanted them to be very representative of some of the things that we as a brand like stand for as well. So it was very important to us that we chose a diverse range of people to work with. Yeah, so I think those are just like some of the things at the top of my head. And when it comes to do's and don'ts, I think Promise will also be able to speak to you on a little bit more about that. She's like my marketing genius.
Where do you think brands are getting it wrong when it comes to influencers? Rory, you can also jump in here with what you've seen in your industry, but what are brands doing wrong when working with influencers?
I think a lot of brands aren't completely making sure that their influencers' values and their ethics align with theirs, because influencers can literally make or break your brand. You know, you basically go into business with this person, so you need to know exactly who they are, what they do on the weekends, you know, and they need to kind of basically live out your values. So I think not enough research on the person. And I think one of the main things is a lot of brands think that just because you have like a lot of followers, your engagement on social media may be super low. So you need to kind of also do a whole bunch of research on them, put them through, like ask them for rate cards, their stats. I mean, like what I found sometimes is you get better interactions and engagement with content on micro influencers, which have like about 20K followers compared to that of 50, 100 plus, even 1 million K followers. So yeah, I think it's just making sure that your values are aligned. You do your research on the person. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense what you say about values. You know, looking at my space, not in terms of my industry, but just in terms of working with people, working with entrepreneurs, working with especially people who are in a partnership. Mm-hmm. Like matching your values is such a high priority, right? And not a lot of people take the time to work those things out, you know, and not only just, you know, you personally, but like you said, what are the values of the brand? What does the brand stand for? And does this person not only have those values, but do they act in line with those values? Not just on social media, you know, but like that's why I think you nailed it, right? Because you said, what do they do on the weekends? What are they doing when they're not on social media? So look, I think when it comes to, you know, influencer marketing in general, it's a tricky one, right? Because you need to get all of those things right, and you need to really have a good relationship with that person. Because like you said, I mean, you're in business with that person at the end of the day. You know, they're your face, they're pushing for you. So I think it's awesome that you guys have that self-awareness. I mean, I've been working with people for a few years now, and I can tell you, most people, and you know, our generation beyond, aren't even aware of their own values. And unfortunately, that's a place where most people fall down. And there's nothing different, right, from an individual to a business. If you don't know what you stand for, and you don't know how to demonstrate that, there's no follow through. And I think that's where that trust comes from. You know, like you talked about, we want that one-on-one connection, you know, with a brand. We want to know someone who shares our values, endorses that brand, because we know we're on the same page. So I think it's awesome you guys are going for that strategy.
Yeah, and I think also like during like Tasmiyah had like hours and hours of conversations like after work, and just about what Boxful stands for, like who is Boxful at the core. And when you know exactly who you are, or when the brand knows exactly who it is, it makes the elimination process much easier. Like, we had thought about different influencers, but then, their values weren't the same as ours. And we knew that we didn't want them to be a representation of us, because we want our brand to be super inclusive, super loving, open, transparent. And that's basically who Black Boxful is at the core. So when you know who you are, the elimination process is much easier to kind of say no.
Yeah, saying no is important, right? I think, like you said, it's not only about saying yes. Those values tell you what to say no to. That's almost more important, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to ask a question just about the business model, because I've been thinking about it this side. What made you, so I have a recurring revenue subscription business for creating content and stuff. Rory has clients who on monthly packages. So both of us understand the value of having recurring revenue, and it's predictable. It's every month it's there. But what was the thinking, and who did you chat to, Tasmiyah, when you were thinking of doing a subscription model? Was there a brand that inspired you, or how did this idea come about?
Well, I think, so I've been in the beauty space for quite some time myself. And what you may not know is, aside from doing makeup and beauty influencing as well, I've also been importing makeup and selling it here in South Africa. So higher end brands that you would only find in the US that aren't readily available here. So that was kind of something that I was doing on the sidelines for a couple of years. And so in doing that, I was also importing beauty subscription boxes from the US. So the likes of Charm, Ipsy, Glossy Box, just to name a few. So those exist just within the United States space. So there wasn't really anything like that here. So my thinking was, there's a lot of people that in South Africa that really want to have that experience as well. Let me just bring it to them. So that's what I did, and it worked out great for some time. But last year, when COVID hit and the exchange rates kind of went crazy, and the import costs and everything just went through the roof, I think it was at that point that a lot of people kind of fell off the bandwagon, and I realized, maybe there needs to be a shift at this point. How can I retain that recurring revenue stream that I had before, and how can I make it so that it's more targeted to a South African audience? And I think this goes back to the marketing and the branding aspect of it. I know Promise and I were having a conversation a few days ago. We're talking about how a lot of brands come to South Africa, international brands, they come to South Africa, and they kind of expect the South African market to just, go for their brand and choose their brand, when they don't market specifically to a South African person. And I noticed that with Charm and with Ipsy, even though I was bringing in those popular brands, I still wasn't tapping into that core market. So I think with Boxful, that's something that I want to be able to do. I want to make it a uniquely South African product that appeals to a South African audience. So yeah, that was kind of how we got here as well.
Cool. So Tasmiyah, just a question also about just the logistics of running a business like this, buying the products, storing them in a warehouse, shipping them off to people. Have you mapped that out to a T, or is that something you guys are busy working on at the moment? How do the logistics behind this business work?
So I think right now we are still in the process of kind of working all of that out. Right now, I think being a startup and just getting this off the ground, and that's only going to happen, we're launching next month. I think right now for our first launch as well, since we're only launching with, I believe it's 70 products, I kind of just have a bunch of makeup stored in my room and just stored in the house at the moment. And kind of everything, it's going to be all hands on deck. And I'm going to be packaging it up and doing the whole thing, and Promise is going to be involved, and it's just going to be super fun for us, I guess. But yeah, as far as that goes, everything is just going to be happening here. This is headquarters.
I think also we'll only know what went wrong when we try it. When we actually get our hands dirty and start sending out the first few boxes. So right now, trial and error is like our motto. So yeah.
100%. Was it your idea, Prom, if somebody who's listening to this or watching this goes to the website boxful.co.za, there's like a newsletter that you can sign up, which is like a waiting list, I guess. So was that your idea to try and get people amped up and on the waiting list in advance, or was it something that you guys chatted about like from the very beginning?
It was Tasmiyah. Tasmiyah kind of like, so basically Tasmiyah came up with the whole Boxful thing, and she was like, Prom, this is what I want to do, this is what's going on. And I was like, okay, cool, let's go. So she did a lot of the heavy lifting. I feel like I'm like a fraud. I hardly did anything in this whole process. But yeah, no, so Tasmiyah has been spearheading this whole thing. And yeah, most of it's all of her ideas, 99% of it.
And like Rory, on your side, do you have any advice on, young South Africans launching a business, like on what's to come, the sleepless nights, the ups and downs? Like, what would your feedback be, having done this for like a year and a bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, obviously, as you guys know already, it's very touch and go. There's not a lot of certainty. For me personally, in my journey, I've always been a person who's very certainty based. I like my security and comfort. So yeah, it's a hard adjustment getting out of that. But as far as advice goes, I've actually got a question which I think will be useful for you guys, obviously, to reiterate and for other people. So Tasmiyah, maybe if you can answer that. I mean, obviously, getting all of this going, opening a business is a scary thing, man. Regardless of the industry you're in. So what was your biggest fear, and how did you overcome that to actually take the action to make this a reality?
Honestly, I think for a very long time, I was kind of hiding behind calling myself a perfectionist. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of held me back quite a lot. And I would just come up with things all the time and be like, well, no, this is not perfect yet. I can't launch. I can't jump into it. And I think for a while that was just what I was doing, until finally I got to a point when, and actually Promise was that point, when I reached out to her and she connected me with some really amazing people. And I remember we had a meeting and this guy, Darshan, we spoke about it, and he was like, well, what are you waiting for? You have all the pieces. Like, what are you waiting for now? Get started. And I think that was sort of like my push in the right direction. And I think sometimes you do kind of need somebody to give you that little push. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Not sure if I went
100%. No, that, and I mean, look, that makes a lot of sense. And that's, I love asking that question, because that's, at the end of the day, that's the number one reason we don't open businesses or we don't take action, right? It's because of that fear. And sometimes, and I mean, I can resonate with that, right? Because I'm the exact same. And I think a lot of people who are high achievers, who do want to create things, have that perfectionist mentality, And I think we think initially it's because we want everything to be perfect. And, it's, I'm just being a perfectionist. I just want it to be right. But there's a little bit of fear there, right? That's really where it comes in. And sometimes that perfectionism, I know certainly for me, it was almost a barrier for not putting myself out there and not failing. So well done, firstly, for overcoming that. And yeah, what I'd say to you is, firstly, thank you for sharing that, because I think a lot of people need to hear that, including all of us here. You can never hear it enough. But yeah, I think that's the hardest part over. And I think that's going to come up time and time again. But if you overcome it once, you'll be able to overcome it again. And I think you guys are going to absolutely crush this.
Yeah, I'll back that.
Thank you so much.
I think one of the coolest things is what Prom said, is that it's trial and error. So you just launch, you get it out there, you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be complaints. There's going to be customers who are super unhappy, who phone you, who's swearing at you. So just go for it, because at the end of the day, there's really not that much to lose. And I think the coolest thing is that, when you do launch this business and you get it out there, there's going to be other people who just had the idea, who say I thought of doing that 2 years ago, whatever it is, but they didn't do it. And you guys are the ones who actually did it, and you launched it and you put skin in the game. So yeah, for that, well done. We have a lot of respect for you. And I guess maybe Prom, you can help out here. Where should people stay tuned? I know it's the website boxful.co.za. I know the Instagram page, Tasmiyah's Instagram. We also want to share this with our people. So where's the best place for people to see the updates and find out more about what's happening?
Definitely our social media. So Boxful, what is it, Tasmiyah?
Boxful.sa.
Boxful.sa, sorry. So definitely stay tuned at Boxful.sa on our Instagram, on our Facebook as well, TikTok as well. So we kind of are diversifying ourselves and we're gonna kind of spam you on every platform we possibly can. So we'll be launching very soon.
Cool. Well, yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Maybe we'll have like a second session, like once you guys have been running for 6 months or something. We'll do a catch up and see how it's going. That'll be cool.
Love that.
But yeah, seriously, well done so much. And thanks for coming on here and chatting to Rory and I, sharing your advice, and to, I guess, the other young entrepreneurs who are listening. And yeah, we wish you all the best. Do you guys want to just say the actual launch date? I've written down here 3rd of June. I don't know if it's changed. Is that the right date, 3rd of June?
We changed it.
Okay, so what's as we close off, let's give the final launch date.
Tasmiyah, go ahead, girl.
Okay, so 15th of June.
15th,
That's
okay.
our official launch date.
15th of June, awesome. I think, this will obviously go out before that. So we'll share a link to the website so people can subscribe to the waiting list. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and we wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate you sharing everything. And yeah, we're rooting for you guys all.